No one's up. Check. We're back. Check the mic.
I don't know if I have the emotional capacity to deal with it today. Keep it to yourself, damn it.
Yes. There you go. We're back. Nice to see you. What a day. What a Monday. Good to be here. I have got the half beard going. I just want everybody to know I'm growing the scruff. I need to look tougher. I need to look a little more Albertan. Like I want to mix the look. I want to go douchebag Albertan. That's what I'm going for. Like the wispy sort of, the platinum blonde hair, and then like the half beard. That's what I'm doing. And I'm going to tell everybody that I'm thinking of moving out west. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to confuse everybody. That's what I'm up to.
I know that's never going to happen, but I will say this about you and your looks. I think you should settle in. You're 50. You look like Ellen DeGeneres' next wife.
Thank you.
And I think you need to settle into the lack of masculinity.
Yeah, I'm there. I know what I'm all about now. Like, you see those dudes that walk around and they put on this air of like, hey, look at me and walk in the room. I want everybody to look at me when I'm walking in the room. I am so far past that now. Like, I remember when I was a kid. Yeah. This is the test for everybody as to whether or not you give a shit about how you look anymore. I remember when I was a kid, 13, 14, my dad and I would get up, we'd go to hockey or we'd go do something. And he would never, ever, ever on a Saturday or Sunday do his hair. And you'd walk into the rink with your dad, and he had this big tuft of hair off the side. And he had a coffee in his hand. He just looked like he woke up. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking so embarrassing right now. He's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I am so at dad hair age now. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't care if I've got one eye closed because it's got a bunch of gunk in it from sleeping the night before. Don't care. If I've got a tuft of hair out here, don't care. If I haven't brushed my teeth and I need to run out and grab creamer and coffee, I don't care. It's the best.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good to know who you are and where you stand in the world. I got a quick story.
No, you don't. You have a long story. And I meant to start the podcast off with Christopher Ott, who aptly, to start today's podcast, said, quote, sadly, I am actually counting this down. Good day to you, sir. Nice to see you, Chris. Sadly,
that kind of sums up our podcast.
We were counting this down too. Anyway, to you and your not quick story. My apologies. Go ahead.
All right. I have a scooter now, and the wife and I are living in our 15-minute city, and I'm able to zip to work in 15 minutes on my electric scooter. So I made my first trek to work on the weekend to sort of test it out because I didn't want to go at 4:30 in the morning. I wanted to know I wanted to know how I was going to get there.
Yeah. So
I did that on Saturday. So I zipped to work. I had something I had to do, and I'm coming home, and I'm trying another route, and I'm on a sidewalk.
Your scooter is the equivalent of my tuft of hair. Like, you don't care that people are seeing you.
Well, I'm getting to this
around the city.
I'm getting to it. So I get to this intersection, and I'm waiting for the light to turn. I'm not on traffic. I'm doing sidewalks and side streets, right? I'm not going to be that guy that is like thinks he's part of the traffic.
Like on a scooter? You pretending to be a motor vehicle, you mean?
So I'm sitting there, I hit the light to walk across, and this guy rolls up in a Harley. He's got his old lady on the back. And he looks over at me, and they both start laughing.
Did you ring your bell?
And I was like, for a moment, I was like, okay, I need to be embarrassed here. The dude in the Harley with the skull cap just laughed at me.
And his wife.
And his wife on the back.
That is a great story.
And I was like, I started zipping, and then they turn, and the light goes, and then I start zipping along, and I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this. Why? Because I'm having fun today.
Yeah, I don't care what I look like. Like 20 years ago, you'd have fucking gone home. You'd have turned around with that scooter, gone home, thrown it in the garbage. You're like, everybody out there thinks I'm a loser.
I don't even know.
Now you're like, I'm embracing the loser dad age I'm at.
I don't even know if I would have done that 20 years ago. Dean, I've been like this a long time. But there was a moment there where I was like, I need to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
I need to be embarrassed that the guy on the Harley just laughed at me. And his wife just laughed at me too. Because I don't look good doing anything.
No, I know you. Well, you're enormous. You're on a scooter. Some guy in a Harley with his old lady pulls up, and they're like, "Hey, do you like that thing? Because you feel the wind on your vagina, sir." Like that. There's nothing more. There's nothing that bases you more than that. And if you're okay with it, and if you can still be confident in yourself, it doesn't matter, right? Same thing. Tough to hear. I'm at that
There's
age.
not going to be a day this summer I don't think about driving that thing to work.
Attaboy.
It was so much fun. I zipped to work and back today.
Lots to talk about today. We've got the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. Game 1 tonight, 8 p.m. your time, I believe. We've got Leafs.
8 o'clock.
We got Leafs Tampa Bay tonight, 7 p.m. my time. Yeah, that's tonight. Leafs tonight? Come on.
No, you're tomorrow night.
No. Leafs are tonight.
No, the Leafs are tomorrow night.
No. Are you serious?
Yes, because you guys are going to want it. They're going to want the Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada. So you're going to be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Oh my God, you're right. No way. Yeah, Tuesday, April 18th, 7:30 p.m. Thursday, every 2 days. You're right. What the fuck? I had this absolute.
So we've got Monday, Wednesday. They'll want to spread the Canadian teams apart, right? So they would have done that on purpose.
Yeah. So you're up first then. It's going to be exciting.
So,
we're going to talk about that a little later on because
I don't think they're. If they can, they'll probably keep the Oilers and the Leafs away from them until the end of the first round when the Leafs are gone.
Smart. You get the two best players in the NHL. You want to maybe space those guys out on a nightly basis. I think that's
you missed what I said. It was a little subtle little jab.
Yeah, no, I got what you said. I just motored right past it because I don't give a fuck. Okay, just so you know. Don't care about anything you say. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Canadian team's chances this year in the 2023 drive to the Stanley Cup, which will be interesting. We're going to have some fun with that. Talk about Blue Jays reliever Anthony Bass, who feels like, I guess, he shouldn't have to clean up after his kids. That was a weird story. And we're going to talk a lot about Twitter today, talk a lot about Elon Musk. We're going to talk a lot
Is
about
that new?
Media.
Is that because I just saw it?
Oh, yeah, that happened this morning, and I want to bring in a ringer for the conversation. Please welcome from our political podcast extraordinaire, the True North Eager Beaver podcast, one of the hosts, Mr. Douglas Connors, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see you,
everyone. How's it going?
Good. You got the hair up in a bun today?
I was supposed to go play tennis.
Oh, didn't work out.
But then my tennis partner had a bum hip.
Are you still playing tennis, or have you merged into pickleball yet?
I have not merged into pickleball yet. I've actually seen it for the first time in my life yesterday. It happened to be on TV, and I said I wanted to check it out because I'd never actually seen it.
There's pro pickleball now. Pro.
Yeah. I want to play.
At Margaritaville.
Yeah, Margaritaville. They got pro pickleball where these guys are like running around, hammering it like old people, but they're running around like young people, and it's like. Yeah. It's like, my God, that looks like you could take out a lot of frustration because you really got to hammer the fuck out of that thing too, don't you?
Seems so, eh?
Yeah.
That's a heart attack. That's a heart attack waiting to happen, though.
And this is why, like my two sports, right? My winter sport is curling because people wonder how I'm so nice, right?
Yeah.
Like this. My winter sport is curling because I pound the crap out of the ice when I'm sleeping. And then my summer sport is curling because I pound the crap out of the ball when I smack it. So I'm all light and wonderful because I'm always crapping.
You're taking out the frustration on the pounding balls.
I did not see that coming. Curling. I am honestly, curling's one of those sports I could have gone pro.
Oh, forget it. Look at that. Open doubles. Did you win? Did you win on the weekend?
Saturday.
Let's talk about this because Douglas was he was piped in with a bagpiper in a final in a curling match. I don't know what it was as a local thing. He's actually really good. He loves the curling. And your mixed team won your curling event. Take us through the auspicious occasion.
Well, okay. Well, I've been playing since the beginning in our league, so that's fine.
Since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of the league?
Since the beginning of the league in ours, because there was no mixed double curling in leagues until it hit the Olympics.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So we only got to do it once a year in a Bonspiel. There was
fucking misogynistic curling society. Thank God they opened up. That's nice.
And but they started one. Now ours is open doubles, not just mixed, because it's in the club and you want to get more people to play.
Yeah.
But my team is mixed, and I've been with my partner Celia for 3 years, and we're doing quite well. Last year we won C, but we ended up in C because I had an acting gig, and it took me out of the league so we dropped down a few. But we finished a second in B in the season. We won B in the playoffs, and we're going up to A next year.
Congratulations!
Nice
B,
work.
and next year
I
A.
love curling.
It was great.
My wife is huge into curling. Like
we're not done with how good Doug is.
You would
yeah.
So
you would have
then we'll
loved
get
this
to
game.
you.
You would have loved this game though, because this one could have been on TV.
Did you steal a couple at the end? Were you stealing
It
rocks?
was so well. That's what happened. It was so close. It was 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 2.
Oh,
and all along like this, it was surgical shots that you had to come and like cross the face and just tap them out like 2 or 3 because doubles is a front. It's not wild takeouts, right? It's taps and moves and you're trying to crowd the center. So and the hardest shot in curling is do it again.
Yeah.
And we had to do it again like many times.
You just
and I thought at some point like I'm gonna crack, right?
Well, they're both kind of skips in doubles, Dean.
Good for you. Okay, I didn't know that. Tell me more.
Because you throw a rock and then you're both sweeping it. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's 2 of you. It's quite interesting. It's the strategy.
You throw a rock and then you get up and you go and sweep your rock.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I've never seen it. Well,
the doubles is tough.
Very
That's
involved.
a tough one.
Do you do mixed doubles with the wife there, Locke? Is she better than you at this?
She's way better than me. When we were in Winnipeg and she was like, I want to learn like, a new sport kind of a thing. And a lot of people we knew in Winnipeg curled. So she was like, I'm going to take lessons. So she dragged me out for it. And then I I sort of just did fill-in stuff with them. Because my shifts and schedule was crazy. So I was like the guy that they called as a spare, but I took the lessons and I played. And then my wife just kept going with it. When we came to Edmonton, she joined the league and she's been going since we got here. Well, since Winnipeg. And she plays in 2 leagues. She plays in a mixed league and she plays in a ladies league. And she's like hooked on it, watches it. Like we watched the Scotties,
loves it,
and the Worlds. We just ended up watching the Worlds. Goosher,
did Goosher win?
If you play it, it's like crack.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's fun, man. We do a media bonspiel every year, and that's when I get to go out.
But that's the drunkest. That's just an excuse for you to get like 12 out of 10 wasted, isn't it not? It's not like the curling isn't.
Yeah, but ice is slippery. So, you get wasted.
I'm a very good drunk curler. Like I might even be better.
I'm very good at curling drunk. Well, listen, congratulations, Douglas, on your big win, moving up to the A category next year in mixed doubles curling.
A big jump.
Really proud of you. Yep. You got a lot of support on Twitter. I'm like, go get him, Douglas. Ray's like, go get him, Douglas. And you were like, you got piped in by a bagpiper. It was a lovely day.
First time in my life.
Really?
18 years curling. It's my first club final.
Oh, congratulations. Hey, that is a big mountain to climb. Good for you. Good
so
for
at least one final, 1 win. In the clutch, I deliver.
Attaboy. Yeah, that's why they call you the
Douglas. Did you know that all the curling rocks came from one island in Scotland?
I just found that out this year.
I just found that out this year.
Really?
Yeah, one island.
Only curling rocks can only use a certain rock from a certain island in Scotland. Is that to be considered a curling rock? Interesting.
It seems so.
Wow.
I guess that's the thing. I had no idea, but I don't know why. Maybe it is because they want the consistency of or something. Who knows?
Porousness between the stones, I believe.
Is it? Okay.
Because rocks are, there's always these little pores. I'm thinking because they hit. So I'm guessing that might have something to do with it.
I just love the
sound. That's just speculation.
I love the sound they make when they connect.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the Cooey win the other day?
Yeah.
Where he that final shot?
That final shot, yeah. I mean,
just insane.
And then the Edin spinner.
Yeah.
The Worlds.
That was a Swedish guy that did it, right? They said it was the greatest curling shot in the history of curling.
Yeah.
I just can't get over. We've spent the last 7 minutes talking about a sport that you had to do wasted for the first 60 years of its existence. I think it's awesome.
You still have to.
Oh, do you? I didn't know that.
It's a prerequisite. If you come out here and you curl with Locke, you better be drinking.
Do you drink,
My
Douglas?
wife knows that.
Do you and Celia get wasted when you played? A couple glasses of Chablis, maybe a beer? Do you guys have a couple cocktails?
I am quite the lightweight, so no.
No, okay. Well, you're not a
It's
real
so much
controller then.
easier to get in the hack when
But
you've
if
had
I
a couple.
do have one before, sometimes I do play better.
Yes,
Sometimes.
that's what I'm saying.
Sometimes.
you
Not
gotta
always.
drink.
Not always.
Anyway,
not reliable.
yeah, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you won. Congrats. We've got stuff to get to. We're going to talk Oilers coming up in a bit. Stanley Cup playoffs start tonight, which is exciting. Couple Canadian teams in action. I got the schedule wrong for the Leafs, and I live in Toronto, which sucks.
Jets.
But anyway,
Jets are playing.
Jets tonight or tomorrow? They're tomorrow.
Jesus, now you're making me think about it.
Oh,
Jets are
fuck,
tomorrow.
dude. I want to start this podcast.
Jets are tomorrow.
That's tomorrow? Jets are tomorrow? Thank
Jets
you,
are
sir.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only
Canadian
it's
team
Dallas and Minnie.
That's why it's at 8 tonight, right?
Boston is playing tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, Boston is sick. Anyway, we'll get to all that coming up in a minute. And we'll also get to Anthony Bass, Jays reliever, who asked a very poignant question on Twitter and was probably put in a body bag by Blue Jays fans. I think he's got to get traded. It was a terrible day for him, too. But let's deal with the CBC, shall we? The Canadian Broadcast Corporation. What a fucking show over the weekend. Now, this is why I've got Douglas here. And Lachlan brought this question up when he came in. He's like, did you see the CBC finally got labeled government funded on Twitter? He's like, did you see that? And I'm like, yeah, I did. There you go. There's the CBC's Twitter handle. They've got several million followers. This is Canada's national broadcaster. Has been since 1936, if I'm mistaken. That's like 86 years of proud history of being funded by the government to the tune of 70% of its funding, by the way. And they were given the same government-funded media tag that Russia Today got, that the BBC got, that NPR got, that the Chinese Communist Party got. And the reason why is because Pierre Poilievres, the leader of the Conservative Party of this country, begged Elon Musk publicly with a letter on letterhead to, quote, and I'm not kidding you, add the propaganda tag to the CBC's bio because he says, and
why is it a propaganda tag?
Let me finish. I'll explain it. I've actually got slides to show you just to prove it to you, because this is actually Twitter, not us. This is what Twitter says that they label government-funded sites. Propaganda. And so they've given that to the CBC because Pierre Poilievres has been like masterfully trolling. And listen, I love a good troll job, right? I don't like the man, but you got to give him fucking credit for this op, because that's what this is.
I am very happy about this.
And we'll get to it in just a second. So last week, he begs Elon Musk on Twitter, please add the government-funded tag to the CBC's Twitter handle. So they did. Now, let me point this out. All you got to do is pump into Google CBC, and it'll take you to the Wikipedia page. It'll also take you to the Government of Canada's page, and you can see, as it has been, government-funded, almost wholly or in part by taxpayer money, in an agreement with taxpayers in 1936, that we would fund that broadcaster separate to the Government of Canada, and they would have no business running it. So that is what the CBC is. Independently run. It doesn't juice stories unless the government of the day asks them to, which it has, and it will continue to happen, but it is systemic. And I'll explain that in a second as well. Excited this morning, Pierre Poilievres looks and he sees that the CBC has a government-funded tag. He's like, breaking. CBC officially exposed as government-funded media. Now people know that it is Trudeau propaganda, not news. And here's the kicker. Sign here to save $1 billion and defund the CBC. Now, that little link was the whole point. I'll tell you why he did it. 2 reasons, and I'll tell you in a second. He wants people to give him money and join his mailing list. And if he can get a little help from Elon, and if he can make this whole thing look like he's the guy that wrote in and had the CBC labeled as a propaganda arm, which, as you pointed out, Lachlan, right here, this is why he did it. Now, it is very entertaining if you know how this whole thing works, because it is pointless. This was the idea. It was, how can I generate incredible news cycle information? How can I get at the top of the news cycle? How can I get as many people as possible to give me money, sign up for my fucking newsletter so that I can tell them what they should be angry about, so that I can take their money, because there is no way anybody's going to give psychos like us money in the next 5 years. So
kind of odd that PeePee is trying to stay in the public eye. We should call him out for it.
I wanted to ask Douglas a couple of questions about this. Number one, were you aware that the Canadian Broadcast Corporation has been government funded for 86 years?
See, we told you it was.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Calling them what they are.
Government.
But they are government funded. They're government funded media.
Now, do you think Pierre Poilievres, Douglas, officially exposed it?
Finally.
Nope.
Finally,
you know
you exposed them for what they are, PeePee.
You know who exposed it?
Who exposed it?
The CBC.
On what again? Their website?
Everywhere. Is there anybody in Canada seriously who does not know that CBC is publicly funded media?
I don't think you'd find anybody.
Was it a mystery?
No. Not to anybody.
No.
Zero.
I mean, was it hiding behind the couch the whole time?
No.
I mean, I just what the heck?
I think people are angry.
That's like him saying, guys, I can't believe it. I cracked the code. Santa's not real.
It is. Honestly, you have to give the reason why I find it so funny.
Yeah.
Is because
I have found it.
Here they are. They're doing. He exposes them for something everybody knows, and then the CBC goes, "Hold on, we're mad about this. We're not going to use Twitter anymore." Like, it's just so ass backwards. I mean, everyone's being just ridiculous
Just
about the whole
super
thing.
losers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is fucking wild. Like,
so you exposed us for being a government-funded media outlet? You are.
It's a freaking crowd
We're
corporation.
not going to use Twitter anymore. We're angry. Who cares? This whole thing is ridiculous.
Nobody cares. And that's the fucking most amazing part about this whole thing.
It's a crown corporation.
It is. But that's the most amazing part about this whole thing, Locke. You fucking nailed it. Like, and I'm glad you took the bull by the horns at the start of this, because it's like him going, guys, up next. Can't believe I'm officially exposing this. Up next after summer, fall.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Well, if I woke up tomorrow and for some reason my Twitter was calling me an asshole, I'd be like,
got me.
I guess someone else.
Oh, douche.
I guess I'm going to have to let everybody know.
Yeah. But let me ask you something, because you had Charles Adler on your show on the weekend, Douglas.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have questions about Charles.
It was brilliantly done. It was a great interview.
Thank you.
I had a great laugh, but he's all in against PeePee. He's all in against these guys. But he said something very interesting. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yeah, that's a good talking point. So let's bring it up. I'll steal Charles Adler's talking point.
Oh, please.
Is this not just Pierre Poilievres, A, begging for money again, mm-hmm. B, begging for emails, mm-hmm. C, begging for attention, mm-hmm. and D, putting every traditional media outlet on this country, because he can do it to the CBC. It is a crown corporation. He knows it is government funded. Everybody in this fucking country does. Is this not just him going, hey, Toronto Star, not Post Media, because they're all up in his a-hole. Toronto Star, Bell, Rogers, other media companies, don't fuck with PeePee during this election cycle. Whatever you do, I'm the guy. I'll do anything I can to make you look like an asshole. And Adler said that on Jesperson. Say what you want about Jesperson. Adam said that Adler said on Jesperson today, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense to me, actually. That could be one of the linchpins here. But what do you make of it? Because, like, it literally is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my fucking life. And not from a perspective of an operation. I kind of appreciate that, because this is one of those clickbait things, right? Where it's like, I've officially exposed. No, you didn't. It's everywhere. Everybody knew it. We were laughing at when you begged for foreign interference to get this done, because it didn't matter. And to Lachlan's point, the CBC's like, fuck it. Peace out. They say our journalism is impartial and independent. To suggest otherwise is untrue. That is why we are pausing our activities on Twitter. Our journalism is impartial and independent. To claim otherwise is false. This is why we're spending activities on Twitter. So anyway, bottom line is, CBC has pulled out of Twitter every one of their properties today. They said, we're not involved, to Lachlan's point. I think that's hilarious too, because who gives a shit? Like, who gives a shit? I don't give a shit if they pull out. They are a government-funded agency. But here's where it gets interesting, is that the rules on tagging an entity as government-funded on Twitter, as designed by Twitter,
Bingo.
are to put the government-funded tag on state-run government-funded media outlets. This is not a state-run media outlet. The majority of the people on the board at the CBC were appointed by anyone? Stephen Harper.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a government-run organization. It is a government-funded organization.
It's actually publicly funded.
Thank you. Publicly by taxpayers. That doesn't go through the government. It comes from our taxes directly into their coffers. Here's the real problem.
Appropriation, an appropriation that exists in law.
In law. So that's a law that the government...
Yeah, PeePee is going to be hard-pressed to put a bullet, from what I was reading.
But here's the thing.
It's not going to be easy to get rid of.
The biggest issue I have, they lost about $30 million last year. So, like...
It's because they don't know how to run a business.
Exactly.
Because they rely on the funding.
That's
the issue I've had. We're in a business right now where there's a lot of people, really talented people, that are out of work in television, in print, in radio, and they had to pivot, and they had to find new careers and new directions. And they're trying to keep their dreams alive by getting into podcasting and things like that, or writing for blogs. And they're like a mushroom. They're a mushroom farm, CBC. They've been kept in the dark for too long. They're not accountable. And the funny thing is, I think they could be competitive. That's the irony of it. If they actually ran their business like a business and paid people the way they should be paid, and spent money the way they should be spent, and had salespeople out pounding the pavement, they could generate revenue. They could break even. They could be a profitable, they could be a profitable media enterprise in this country if they put the effort into it, because they've got great programs.
I don't think they could.
I don't think they could because of the mandate.
Yeah.
They have to do a whole bunch of other things that other media do not have to do by law.
Take us through that. But
Douglas. But hold on.
No, hang on.
They always wave that around, Douglas, as
it's different.
There are other media outlets other than CBC also have restrictions and mandates and things that we have to do, and we manage to stay competitive. What's it? 40% CanCon. You think that's easy to chew on when people are wandering around with phones in their pockets and they can play anything? And companies that pipe music into from other countries don't have to rely on CanCon regulations. Cat 3 categories on radio. There's TV stations across this country also have CanCon commitments that they have to live up to. They have news talk commitments that they have to live up to. CBC is not alone.
Not about CanCon. It's not about CanCon.
Douglas.
It's not about CanCon.
It's about how they deliver the news.
No. It's not. The Canada in 1936 had something called the CRBC, which is now the CBC, Canada's National Broadcast.
That's in 1932, actually.
32, my bad.
First.
Take me through the policies that govern the CBC and how it works, and how it's always worked. I know you've got backstory there that will add some context to what the CBC does and why it exists and who it serves, because this is about getting information out to the far reaches of a very big country, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
See, the thing you have to understand when it comes to government services, crown corporations, those type of things, yes, of course, we live in a real world. There's an economy, there's business, there's money, there's financial transactions and all of that, of course. But crown corporations and things that are operated by government are there to first be a service to the public. So the goal is break even, hopefully. If you can make a profit, great, and it can be reinvested. There are certain things that you can't do at a profit, so it's going to be a loss no matter what. But the service is necessary, so the government has to do that. Now, with the CBC, for example, so everybody has the same CanCon rules. That applies to everyone. But in addition to CanCon rules, things that you got to sort of think of it like airline carriers, for example. Why they don't say the mergers? You say bring the Americans in, bring the international in. Well, they're still not going to serve the smaller communities. There needs to be somebody to serve the smaller communities, and there's a mandate for that. Well, CBC does that. For example, local journalism is starting to die down. Well, CBC is going to have to fill that role if people abandon it even more. So in markets that are not profitable, they still need information. They still need to be served. And if regular businesses are not going to do it because they're not big enough, well, then somebody has to. And you can't leave them without any information or any news, especially from the CBC specifically, because its mandate is literally a coast to coast to coast, so that Canadians from wherever they are, because we live so far away from each other, can know what each other's stories are, so that we can have that national unity, so that we can be one country. And it is also to tell our stories. Of course, this is a little easier now that we have all these different platforms and more people can become creators and find their own audiences. But back in the day, it was still about not being overwhelmed and having a place that was ours to tell our stories, so that, we didn't have to compete with the United States
Douglas,
market. Hold on.
Okay.
And then it's making sure, for example, if you look at the North, how many regular media outlets have journalists and operations in the North every day?
Next to none.
They're not invested there.
No.
And then it takes the operations to do that. And now we're talking the CBC. If you look at their sports coverage, they go everywhere to bring images. They used to go everywhere. Now they're piping the images in so that we can get even more content, live sports, because people wanted to see more. But there was a time they were literally going everywhere.
Yeah.
To all those things, to bring us those images. So they're telling us the stories of our history, our ancestors, our athletes, our artists, our writers, our scientists, our tradespeople, our service industry people, our politicians, our academics. They're telling us the stories of everyone. Mm-hmm. And these are stories that a lot of media outlets are not interested in covering, because
in places where other media outlets refuse to go and tell stories,
or even
cost prohibitive,
or even subject matters that are not that popular, or population groups that are not, like, for example, if it was strictly market economics, how many transgender people would ever see themselves on TV ever?
6. 5.
I'm just saying, given the percentage of the population, what would be the market? So,
not a lot.
But they have stories, and they're here, and we have to know about them. So, and that applies. There are cultural groups, there are religious groups, there are people that have political beliefs that are not popular. But everybody needs to have a place where they can recognize themselves and see themselves as a citizen of this country, and the CBC provides that.
And this is the point I want to make. That's why I think it's important. I've said this out loud countless times. If you just on the surface of it, if you are angry with me about being angry about CBC, you might think I'm anti-CBC. I'm not. No. I actually think it is a service that we need and we need to maintain. I don't think they spend their money wisely. I just don't. And here's where I think we're all missing the point of this. Is instead of treating, and this is how the media outlets in the country have been doing, this is what's been happening in the last little while. We treat these things, these obstacles in front of us, instead of opportunities or trying to find ways to manipulate the market. We look at them and we go, this is an albatross. I can't work like this. I need to be free like everybody else. And so we put them up in front of us as something that is not unique. It is something that's just a problem. And then we don't work around them, right? CBC has a very unique position in this country. We have coverage right across the country. Treat that as something that is unique, because other media outlets aren't doing it. Start profiting from it from the perspective of the fact that you're doing it and nobody else is doing it. And maybe you're right. Maybe this isn't a company that makes a profit, But you cannot, I don't care what you tell me their obstacles are or what they have to do that everybody else has to do, that everyone else doesn't have to do. You will not convince me that organization, if they managed their funds properly, and if they actually looked at these things as advantages instead of disadvantages, could actually break even in this country. Because I think even a lot of people, I lean conservative. I appreciate what CBC is for what it is. And I'd hate to see it go away. That's why I'm worried about the defund the CBC movement that PeePee seems to be riding into the wind here. I think it's dumb. I think it's important to look at the CBC and go, listen, you guys need to get your heads out of the 1970s, and you need to figure out how to make money in the world that we live in, and force them to. It's the same thing. Dean shits all over terrestrial radio.
Lachlan, you have to understand, though, there are forces working against as well. For example, when the Harper government was the government, for example, the CBC refused, for example, something really stupid, but refused to pay to renew the rights for the Hockey Night in Canada theme. That's why it changed. When Harper was, the Prime Minister,
she wanted a ridiculous amount.
$7 million.
It doesn't matter.
I got it.
They stopped, I guess. And then I believe they changed some regulations to make it such that the CBC, why we have Hockey Night in Canada on different stations now that it no longer had dominate. That was so things. And then there were rules about how much it could advertise, which made it could make less money. And
still are, yeah. Which I believe in. I don't think they should be allowed to advertise if they are taking huge chunks of government money. Right, but
I take the funding away and tell them they can advertise.
Well, hold it exactly, and you can, but at the same time, that's not why they are funded. They are funded by taxpayers as a gift to people who have a hard time accessing information, Wi-Fi, all that other stuff across this country, and we carry that minus 30 million on a yearly basis, so that Canadians, and have for 86 years, so that Canadians coast to coast to coast can have access to the kind of information that Canadians want them to have, that we want them to have.
And there are also the other services like the shortwave and the CBC Light web service. So, for example, when there's a natural disaster,
don't forget CBC Gem.
Yeah, and there are some things like the News World, for example. If you're not subscribed to cable, it's a subscription service. You have to subscribe. So, I'm thinking that over time it will happen, and I'm thinking that also with younger Canadians, that's going to change too. Because I remember when I was younger, if you slapped anything on it saying that it was Canadian, people would turn away from it. Now Canadian is cool because it's mixed in with everything on Netflix, and it doesn't pop out and say this is Canadian, and then you top out, oh my god, this was done here, wow, this is kind of cool. So I think over time that is going to happen, because I think that back in the day there was much more of an institutional vibe. There would have never been a Schitt's Creek on CBC.
I blame beachcombers.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
So
in Danger Bay.
Yeah.
I hated Danger Bay too. And that's the thing, right? Like that entire, we used to mock the CBC growing up because they just had terrible television shows. And I don't know anybody on this planet that is deathly afraid of the propaganda coming out of Coronation Street being on television 10 hours a day. But that's a whole other fucking point. But this was a brilliant operation on behalf of Pierre Poilievres to try to convince.
It was.
And listen, it was a great little troll job.
Or not,
but you have to be a legitimate fucking moron. You have to be 12 shades of stupid to look at that tweet where he's like, I finally exposed the CBC and their propaganda arm. If you look at that and you're just waking up to the idea that the CBC is government funded, number one, you're a fucking moron. And if you're just waking up and you're looking at this tweet going, yay, that's a big win for Pierre and that's a big win for the Conservatives, you're a bigger fucking moron. Because you know what Justin Trudeau's going to do? He's going to take that stick and he's going to beat the shit out of Pierre Poilievres with it. And when I say that stick, here's the stick that exactly, because you know what he's trying to pimp? Bill C-11 and Bill C-18. Where Bill C-11 and Bill C-18, and I know it's scary, and that's a fucking problem for me, but let's just stick with what he's going to do. Today, he went all in, and he was like, hey, listen, Pierre, you're hurting hardworking men and women in this country. You're going after a government-funded organization that sits apart from the government that we have nothing to do, right? And then he's like, and he's helping big tech. Now, the government's huge fucking label that they put on anybody that has a problem with Bill C-11 is, oh, you're helping big tech. So that's the stick he's going to take and beat the shit out of the conservatives with during the next election.
Oh, but it gets even better.
Tell me more.
Oh,
I love better. Yes.
Because this, you know, those things where people fancy themselves clever, but clever is way different than smart.
Yeah.
He didn't think this through, and he didn't game this out.
Okay.
So let's look at what if you could put that up. So there are actually 3 different categories from Twitter as to what they are. Now, state affiliated media. Now, remember state affiliated because you'll see those words again. Okay. Put a pin in that one.
That's like the Russian, China ones,
yeah,
right?
Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, all that kind of stuff. Government funded, right? Government funded media is defined as outlets where the government provides some or all of the outlet's funding, which is true in the case of the CBC, and may have varying degrees of government involvement over editorial content, which Dean says is true, but for the purpose of this is not true because in law.
You believe that, Dean?
Let Douglas finish and then I'll answer that question.
Because in law, it's not. Now there's a board and it's at arm's length. Now, the time where Stephen Harper ironically appointed, I believe it was 12 members of the CBC board, and I think it was the full board, and all of them pretty much, if not exclusive, I think pretty much happened to be good boys and good girls and loyal Conservative Party donors. That was probably the closest in the entire CBC's history it was to actually being a propaganda arm of a party. All right. And it's been publicly funded all along. So that means if it was a propaganda arm of the Trudeau government now, then it was a propaganda arm of the Harper government then. Because nothing's changed.
That's what I believe. Yeah.
And then the third, so here, and then the last one here, publicly funded media refers to media organizations that receive funding from license fees, individual contributions, public financing, commercial financing, and stuff like that.
That would be your NPRs, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Your NPRs, your TVOs, your PBSs.
That's not a government.
No.
That type
NPR's
of thing.
not government.
No.
Now,
it's like people that are always doing telethons for money, that kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you put this up, Dean.
Yeah, for sure. Gotcha.
I might
put
have
it up
to
on the
blow this
screen
up a little bit here. There you go. Okay. Now, this is from their 2018-2019 annual report, right up there on their website. They have revenue from television advertising and digital advertising. This is all their advertising, plus other revenue.
They did well on digital.
From subscriber fees, and financing and other income, and then their government financing. Right? So this is all the revenue that they get outside of government financing, and then this is the government financing.
The pink part.
And they're still losing $30 million a year. That's insane.
Yeah, but $30 million.
That's
$30 million on an over billion dollars.
Come on, Douglas. Right? Come on, that's just bad. That's just bad business.
No, because they lose money.
Error.
They lose. It's a rounding error to the government, and they lose that money on purpose. Like that money is gone for a reason. And the reason why I'll take your thing off there. The reason why they lose that money on purpose is because they know nobody in Fort St. John is going to go there and report on the news, so they have to pay someone the kind of money that they can get to Fort St. John to report on the news. So they're always going to lose money in certain areas. They'll make a bunch of money here. To your point, it is not an entrepreneurial or capitalistic way to operate a media outlet, but neither are the traditional outlets. So you're banging your drum right now, right, on being able to be competitive with other media outlets, which have to go and source and eat what they kill. Right.
That's one thing. That's one thing that gets in the way of this whole conversation.
Okay, so let me just bring that up.
Now you have to get out there and you have to be competitive. We're taking away your funding.
Great.
Then all of a sudden they're eating everybody else's lunch.
Right.
So that's the other thing that
not going to
have
happen.
a problem.
And I'll tell you why. Because every media outlet in this country is government funded.
Bingo.
Every single one. How much? Great question. Here's Paul Godfrey.
Are we talking COVID?
Oh, no.
Nope.
CEO of Postmedia in 2018, where he said, quote, "I tip my hat to Trudeau and the finance minister. They deserve a lot of credit." Why? Because Postmedia received $10.8 million in bailout money in that year. They've received over $200 million in bailout money over the past 9 years. $40.3 million from CEWS, $1 million from the Quebec government. And to that point, The outgoing president, Paul Godfrey, I know him. Nice guy. Had lunch with him, had dinner with him. This is what he said. For as long as Postmedia has existed, we've been lobbying governments to address the threats in our industry. It seems finally the critical issues are being addressed, and we hope to see the Canadian government do on behalf of other governments who've done in support of journalism to help level the playing field. On behalf of our board of directors, I want to thank Postmedia shareholders, audience, advertisers, and the teams across Postmedia who do great work every day to support our stakeholders. Now, the stakeholders, interesting. What did they hear? From the former president and chief executive officer, Andrew McLeod at Postmedia. He said, and I quote, Postmedia's fiscal year 2020 was a tale told in two parts. Story of the first half of our fiscal year, September to February, is a traction of our strategy. Our focus since March has been our key four pillars: preserving liquidity, constraining costs, maximizing revenue, and government support. All key elements from that $35 million in yearly government support are now key pillars of their business plan, sir. Now, what did Postmedia do with that money? I'll show you. They decided to support Pierre Poilievres with it. And they continue to put out all kinds of dangerous bullshit about Canada not being safe, being a shitty country on behalf of Pierre Poilievres' talking points. So every single media outlet, and it's not just Postmedia that got $35 million.
And to your point,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
let's add the ones that are registered as charities that benefit from the wonderful charitable tax donation, which is generously funded by us.
Yes. Which ones are those? All of them?
I believe
Douglas?
Rebel and True North.
Oh, yeah, that's sorry. Those fake media outlets that also are registered as charities and nonprofits, so they don't have to pay taxes and they don't have to tell people where their dark money comes from. The media ecosystem in this country, outside of the CBC, is the most corrupt, government-funded media ecosystem outside of, and I'll tell you this, China, Russia, Korea, North Korea. We are legitimately lied to by government-funded organizations, and it's called news on a daily fucking basis. But do you notice who Pierre didn't go after? Do you notice who he didn't talk about in terms of their government funding? The guys he sent a warning to with this whole CBC government-funded bullshit where he said, hey, you come after me, I'll come after you. So go fuck yourselves before you get any fancy ideas about talking about me and my familial conflicts of interest, my wife's family, my family, all the stuff that I've been doing prior to getting here. And fuck you. Don't any one of you newspapers and any one of you television stations, not a single reporter, how dare you ask why I've decided not, me and my family, to not have a national security background check. Because I will never pass it. Don't any one of you guys ever talk about that, because I don't want to talk about where my collusive hangups are. I don't want to talk about my ongoing criminality. That's what this is. That's all it is.
So hold on. Are you trying to tell me that somebody running to run our country might be a criminal?
Yeah. And here's the other thing.
Or have people around him that are so criminal that it's not safe to have him run the country, one or the other.
Soft targets, they call them.
The problem is, I'll tell you what the problem with this conversation is. It's too much of a can of worms. It really is. I mean, trying to dissect it all and make any sense of it, it's exhausting.
It is.
And I think the bigger issue, the bigger issue right now, Douglas, and I think you'll agree with me. Well, and again, I think we need news in this country. Yep. I think we need the CBC.
Yep.
I think we need radio stations, for Christ's sakes, even though Dean thinks he should put a bomb in all of them.
Yeah.
I think we need streaming services. We need things to placate the masses, right? We need these things. How they make money and whether or not it's from the government. Oh my God, that's such a it's unbelievable to me how convoluted the whole thing is. Mm-hmm. But I think the bigger issue
on purpose, by the way. Because people get so exhausted thinking and talking about it that they don't want to think and talk about it.
The bigger issue, I think, moving forward isn't that they get the money. Yes, that's a problem. I think the issue I have is that there's too many people out there, and this conversation isn't helping either. Thank you, Dean, for this, because I'm sure I'll fucking hear about this tomorrow on my show. is that we have become anti-media.
We should.
Like there used to be some level of respect for people that did what we do.
Yeah,
no.
And that has crumbled. And I think that's a bigger issue than where the money's coming from.
Yes, it is. Because the objective is to make everything unknowable.
Yeah.
If there is no truth, if there is no independent source you can go to, if
it's
that guy
to
from True
destroy
North who yells
reputation.
into his mic,
Yep.
if that guy in True North who yells into his mic is supposed to be, and his opinion and his, because he calls himself a media, is supposed to be considered equal to the CBC in worth and value. Because if that's the way we're supposed to do it, if that's the way we're supposed to, all media outlets, no matter whether they adhere to journalistic practices, are all equal. They all get equal access and they all get equal time. Then what's truth?
Yeah. No, I get that.
The thing is that we have to move beyond. There's one journalist that I really love is Christiane Amanpour. She has a saying: "Truthful, not neutral."
Yeah. Well,
if you start to sacrifice truthful at the altar of neutral, you're no longer being truthful.
And you know what? From
you're
Jump Street,
reality,
dude. From
truth takes a position. Truth is not neutral.
Bingo.
Truth takes the position of the person who's telling the truth.
Is this the truth? Breaking: CBC officially exposes government-funded media. Is that the truth? No, it's not the truth. Is it now?
Well,
now people know that Trudeau propaganda is not news. Is that no? The government. And back to your point, it didn't matter to me. I always just assumed that whatever the government of the day was, that they were probably cooking some stuff on CBC because they could, right? And I know how these, dude. And I'll tell you this: government. Well, I that's my belief. I don't have any empirical proof whatsoever. That's just like it's probably that, because I know how traditional media works, and how traditional media works is the people that run the traditional media companies have friends. Those are convenient friends, and those convenient friends are in government, and the convenient friends in government give the people in media whatever they want to be able to write nice stories. That's what C11 and C18 are. They're just fucking bribes for the government. And we've been bribing media for the last 10, 15 years. Nothing has ever changed, right? And so when you look at the way that traditional media works, and they call themselves private outlets, those are the most dangerous outlets in this country, because of what they choose not to report. We've talked about this 100 times. No, dude, it is true. And to the point where people are reporting on this CBC story like it's real. Like it's fucking, the CBC. Oh, they're on Twitter. I mean, we laughed about it for the first 10 minutes of the show because it was like,
it's ridiculous.
So fucking ridiculously stupid. But out there, they want everybody to think it's very real, and it's not. Douglas, you had something you wanted to say, and then we'll go to Lachlan.
Okay. Now, you know that thing I told you to stick a pin in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Want me to bring it up?
Did you put it up?
Yep.
Now, when he put this one up.
By the way, never pull up my screen.
Yeah. We must protect Canadians against disinformation manipulation by state media. Yeah. So to the public, he's calling it state media. That's why I'm asking to label it as government-funded media. But Twitter has 3 categories: state media, government-funded media, and publicly funded media. And state media was the one we said was Iran, Russia. So he uses one at one time, uses another time, mixes them all up.
He's a cock, Douglas.
He's a total cock.
He did that on purpose.
He's a bag of micro cocks, okay?
Diseased,
but
uncircumcised with
but
all
here's
kinds
the thing
of
that I want you to
schmegma.
look at.
Yes, go ahead.
Here's the thing I want you to look at. Yeah. Where's the letter addressed to?
Twitter Incorporated.
What city?
San Francisco, California.
San Francisco.
What
Isn't that
country?
where Twitter office
The United States of America.
Wouldn't that be foreign influence?
Yes. We've talked about that.
So he actually went online, asked
what does that mean?
A foreign company to give him
a hand
to do this for him,
which
is a lie, because you'll love this one. You'll really love this one, because you said they did it to the BBC, and they did do it to the BBC, and then BBC protested and got publicly funded, put back. What do you think are the odds that CBC is going to do that at some point? Number one. All right. So they got it back.
They're already pushing back for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
They're probably already doing.
there's one sort of clause in that second piece that you showed us that isn't true about them being government funded, right? There's one element of that. That's why they could probably make a case for we need to be publicly labeled as a publicly funded one. Because I don't agree with Dean at all. I don't think that Justin can call up anybody at the CBC and go, I need a fluff piece. That's what you said. You totally
I said I wouldn't be surprised if over the last 86 years that has happened. And I wouldn't be surprised if to some extent, whether on a macro or micro level, that it still happens because they're government funded, right? Like that's the problem that everybody has when they take money from anybody. It's like, hey, I'm going to give you money to operate, but don't you say no to me. And everybody that runs that organization's like, hey, if we want this funding, and some of the CBC board guys and the president, they get millions of dollars every year just to fucking keep the thing going. So to me, it's like, one back. And I've been in rooms where I've watched this happen, where guys are like, hey, don't report on this.
We know it happens.
Yeah.
But here's the best part. Again, like I said, it gets better. So now he's asking for foreign influence. He got it.
What does that mean? How
he asked a foreign company to do something that meddles in our politics. He got Elon Musk to change CBC from publicly funded to government funded, which makes it look like it's a propaganda arm, to help him market it as a propaganda arm.
Election help.
Wouldn't that count as an in-kind political donation?
Yes.
What is the value in dollars?
Millions
of that switch.
Millions in PR, negative PR.
And I'm pretty sure that exceeds any limit that is legal.
Absolutely, it does.
So he can get in trouble for that from the rules.
Well, and when you consider
he has to live.
Yeah, dude. And consider this. Like we're right in the middle. Funny. We're like a lot of trouble. And we're right in the middle of Pierre Poilievres on this Chinese interference, investigate the Trudeau Foundation, which I believe we should. Investigate the Trudeau Foundation, because let's investigate everybody at this point. And I'll get to that.
But here's the cherry on the sundae.
Yeah. Is that he is angry about election interference and foreign interference into Canadian politics about China, but somehow he's cool with going to the United States and going, hey, can you help us with this? That'd be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like one thing I have noticed about political figures is they tend to ignore the hypocrisy.
Now here's the cherry on the sundae.
Yes.
You know that thing about the CBC leaving Twitter? Try this.
NPR just left Twitter.
April 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah. But the thing that PeePee did was pure political plagiarism. It's not a great play. He copied it. It was done to NPR. He saw it, copied it, got Elon to do it to CBC. CBC did to Twitter what NPR did to Twitter, leaving it. Now he's attacked journalism like this. All journalists are not having it. If you've seen the tweets from David Hurley and Evan Scrimshaw and everyone, the mood has completely changed. It's like the entire journalism, no matter what, has sort of looked at him and said, okay, motherfucker, you're on. At the precise time where we are wondering why it is, he will not undergo a security clearance. And it would seem to me that a leader of the opposition that does not want to undergo a security clearance because he wants to maintain his partisan ability to talk shit and lie about what's going on in intelligence, rather than do his statesman duty to know what the hell is going on so that he can comment to us in a manner that does not play and manipulate our fear and emotions, particularly on issues of national security.
Where our security.
He is choosing not to know. And by choosing not to know, and by going all around the world, what a better signal to any underhand or underground person that wanted to exercise political influence that I am open for business and taking offers.
Well said.
CBC,
way to slap it together for us.
Get off Twitter.
Like there's blood in the water, and the journalists are smelling it.
Well,
And there was one thing about Canadian journalists. They're often miss the mark and whatnot. But often when they smell blood in the water, they each take a piece and divide it up and go and get it.
and
So
here
he's
is
about to have a very rough ride.
here lies the problem that he just gave himself. Not only is he going to be hit with the big tech stick for the next year and a half, right? Douglas brings up a great point, Locke. Like if it's you and me, let's say,
didn't think of it from that perspective, like
Yeah.
that.
He's a national security liability now.
The international influence.
Yeah. So not only is he peddling
did
for
it
international influence, not only is he peddling for foreign interference, which he got publicly in front of everybody, we can see it with fucking idiot. But here's the great part: is now we're in a situation where he is not just pissed off reporters at CBC. We happen to talk to a lot of reporters on this show. Everyone, and I don't care where they're from. I don't care. Every reporter, save maybe the National Post, is like, no, you fucking loser. You stepped over the line. Now what you're doing is you put us on notice that we're going to dig into every part of who you are, your familial collusive issues, your wife's familial collusive issues, why you won't undergo a NatSec background check, why you refuse it, what your outstanding issues were, who are the people around you or in your orbit. They are going to literally get a whole bunch of rubber gloves. They're going to tell him to get on the table. They're going to spread his professional butt cheeks, and they're going to roto-root that guy. Because as Douglas pointed out, you want to upset the political institutions, which is a great idea. I actually like it. I like the disruption. It's kind of fun. If you want to upset people, like an entire industry that has the ability to destroy your life from the inside out, do exactly what he just did. Suggest that reporters and media in this country are full of shit, which by and large the institutions are, but there are a lot of really good people out there doing a lot of really good work.
I wanted to end with.
Because he's also saying that they would participate. They would be willing participants in this.
Because that's the bigger issue that I have with this, is that what's happened is that we have somehow decided that all media, everybody in it, is now your Trudeau's paying you to tell me what he wants you to be, what he wants said. Like, I just think that that's dangerous, and that I think we're, I don't know, how do you come back from it, right? Like,
yeah, look at
there's always going to be influence at every level. Every level, there's always going to be money. Always helps make decisions. Dean knows this. We've talked about it. Like, friendships, who you know, helps make decisions. If a friend of mine calls me and says, hey, I got a thing, I will go out of my way to help him out, right? And you know what? I'll like, hey, throw a couple of bucks at the radio station, and then I'll talk about it. But I'm going to give him an interview, and I'm going to help him. I want him because he's a friend of mine. It's influence. It's the way the world works, right? And it happens at every level. I don't know how we get back to that, where not everybody that cracks a mic and does what we do is somehow an enemy of the state. Like legitimately, I get daily texts or an email or something on social media about an opinion I had, and it will allude to the fact that someone is paying me to say that. And I'm just like, why is that a thing?
I'll tell you why, dude. Let me
say that than to say that they're wrong.
And this is why. Okay, let me show you why. This is why they do it. They do it because they want to absolutely destroy the reputation of anybody that can hold them accountable. They want to destroy the reputation of anybody that says anything that makes them look like fucking morons.
Yeah, you're right.
And I will say this: they are all fucking idiots. Like my timeline over the past, like, I don't know how many, 24, 48 hours, is filled with blackface Trudeau pictures. It's filled with pictures of Justin Trudeau and the allegation that he had sex with an underage girl. These are in response to Maple Leaf tweets. Okay. These are in response to "Have a great day, everybody." Picture of Justin Trudeau in blackface. Pierre Poilievres tells the truth. It's all an op, and none of it's real. And I know the troll farm that they use. Trust me, I do. And I'll be coming out with that information shortly. But what we need is this. Okay? Let me just throw this out there. It'll never happen. But I said this in a post. I want to know all the shit. I want to know about Trudeau's foundation. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know about Pierre Poilievres' issues. I want to know because if the two dueling morons are going to go head to head, okay, and if they're going to continue to gaslight, if they're going to continue, and Pierre Poilievres is a million times worse at this, but if this is where we are in kangaroo court, political bullshit circus time, right? If that's where we are, then I think as Canadians, and you know what? I think Canada Proud should get on this roll. I think everybody should get. I think Ezra Levent should get on our bus. I think the CBC should get on our bus. I think the CTV. I think everybody should get on this one bus. And the bus is going to Transparency Town, and I got fucking snacks. Okay? I want everybody fucking investigated. I want a complete NatSec background check on Pierre Poilievres and everybody in his fucking orbit. Everybody. I want a complete breakdown and audit of everything in the Trudeau Foundation. I want to see everything that every one of these jackoffs is saying is non-existent, and I want to see it now, because if it's non-existent, if Pierre Poilievres doesn't have a back channel to some assholes, if Pierre Poilievres' biological relatives are not who I think they are, if Justin Trudeau did not do anything wrong with the Trudeau Foundation, then they should have zero problem, right? Standing there going, yeah, background check me all you like. Sure, come do a complete audit of the Trudeau Foundation. I would love to show you guys the great work we've done. Pierre Poilievres should be going, absolutely. As someone who wants to be the leader of this country and all Canadians, I should be submitted to a background check. As a matter of fact, I'll have a rectal, and I'll give you my dental records as well. I'll give you anything you want, because it's that important to me to stick up for Canadians, and it's that important for me to be seen as trustworthy in the environment that we vote in. But it's not. And therefore, I'm officially out. And when I say I'm out, I mean this. You guys are all a joke to me at this point. And by and large, you're a joke to 80% of Canadians. 10% on one side, 10% on the other. You got them whipped up in a froth, sending pictures, defending you, defending us, defending this. There's nothing to defend anymore. No one believes anything you fucking morons say. Nothing. Zero. You guys are just sitting there going at it, right? And I know where the genesis is, and I know it's at stake. Fascism's at stake, right? It is. That is where we're at. Theocratic fascism. That is what Pierre Poilievres is all about. And he's going to have all the crazies behind him, if he wins, come in and fill the gaps and take our money and make you think that he's fucking fighting for you, but he's not. None of them are. You're marks. I keep telling you that. That's why this CBC thing is such a fucking great joke.
Well, it's not just the CBC. It's happening on all levels too, right? Politicians are attacking media that doesn't side with them on all levels, right?
They're attacking their constituents, blocking their constituents, not allowing their constituents to talk to them. Danielle Smith blocking media, not allowing certain media to talk.
One question today, that came through, right?
Yeah. One question, and now not only one question per reporter, but one question per outlet. So if an outlet decides to send two reporters, only one can ask one question. She just changed that today.
Well, no backup question or whatever you call it.
No backup question. So this is three times in a couple of weeks now that she's
and Rachel Notley has done the same thing. I mean, you go to listen. You can blame Justin. You can blame Pierre Poilievres all you like. You can. You can't, because he's an asshole. He's a fucking duplicitous piece of shit, and he's so weak, and he's such a pussy, and he's so compromised in his family and his dealings on a daily basis. It would blow your fucking mind. Blow your mind.
You keep saying that.
Oh, yeah, I know, and we're going to get to that one day. Trust me. I'm not going to be the guy to do it, but I'll be going, yeah, I know. I heard about that a long time ago. Justin Trudeau, same thing. Same thing. We put our faith in these people that don't want to tell us.
I used to think that someone that good looking could be at all sketchy. Come on.
He is a good looking guy.
Teenagers always have the best candy.
I know. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm just a big fan of where we are right now. And you should be too. Because
I never looked at it from the perspective that, Dean, I like what you're saying. The chaos revolving around everyone at CBC and other news outlets that PeePee is pissed off, going deep on them, seems very intriguing to me. I don't know why. So, I mean, we can all take a step back, and you can be angry about being a liberal or being a conservative. You can do whatever you want, however you want to approach what happened.
Yeah.
If you don't see the benefit of this from a content perspective,
You're crazy.
You're missing the boat.
Yeah.
You're missing the boat.
You know, everybody out there that's really pissed off that we live in this divisive time. I don't even see it. I just go, what a fucking blog post will come out tomorrow. What a great podcast for us to break down this shit. This is incredible. If you can't come up with great content in 2022 as a content provider, this is it's like a fucking smorgasbord of awesomeness. Every time I open up Twitter, I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. I love it. And I think
that's what CBC should do. I think CBC should get every single one of their
CBC should put us on
them down, get all the information.
Every single one of their
let's talk about your wife. Let's talk about her family. Let's talk about your family. Let's talk about your adoption. If
I was CBC, Dean, I would yank everybody in the entire company off of Twitter today. Just delete your accounts. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're looking at a way to hurt or punch back, do that, right? I don't know.
They don't need. And here's the other thing: 22% of Canadians are on Twitter.
I know that's
5% of Canadians are on Facebook. They'll just buy more Facebook ads. Nobody needs Twitter.
Stop promoting, spending any money on Twitter. Stop putting all your stories out on Twitter. You're like, they're
stupid. Bigger on Instagram and Facebook. Go ahead. Sorry.
And this is what the most stupid thing is. I don't understand what Elon's doing here, because Twitter is the place where people go for news. It's where most of the journalists have chosen.
That's where
you go to get your clippings and your
I don't know
like
anybody in radio, Douglas, that doesn't use Twitter. Like, it's a major source for me for everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he makes it hostile, if the news outlets go, then the people on Twitter go. So to whom is he selling anything?
Nothing.
Again.
And he just got rid of one of his biggest clients in the country. CBC spent a ton of money, millions, boosting tweets. So they're like, fuck you, we're not going to. And he's like, whatever. And they're going to take those millions and give them to Mark Zuckerberg. No problem, dude. We got government money. We'll just spend it over here.
But all the Canadians that
pump it right into China.
That are going to get their CBC content through Twitter. Yeah. They all moved to Facebook. They have no reason to be on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, I know. Dude,
let's not get carried away. No one wants to go to Facebook.
Dumb.
What a fucking nobody does. But what a fucking terrible
whatever other platform emerges as the moment to eat it up.
NPR left.
This sector moves so fast.
Yeah. And here's the great part: is Twitter's traffic is down month over month, 8%, 7% last 2 months, 7 and 8, and signups are at an all-time low. And now he is driving news organizations off the platform. And I find it interesting because China had asked him to remove their state propaganda label from their bio, as did Russia. And in a matter of like minutes after tagging NPR with state run and BBC with state run, they announced a new gigafactory in China, in Shanghai, for his Teslas, like a brand new one worth billions of dollars that he had the government fund. And want to talk about government funding?
I'm shocked.
I know
Elon Musk might be using Twitter for business purposes.
It
just blows me away. Today has been a shocking day for me. Thank you. Thank you both for coming.
Well, I mean, gee, I'm surprised you're still sitting after the news that CBC was publicly funded.
I
because the earth moved on that.
I need to have a nap after that. Actually, that was such a shocker. It's one of those ones where you find out your parents aren't your parents. Same thing. What?
Mom, why didn't you tell me?
What? Douglas Connor's True Eager podcast, True North Eager Beaver, with our friend Paulie. What's that?
Are we talking hockey?
Do you want to talk hockey?
Sure, I'll try as much as I can.
Yeah, we got the playoffs tonight, and I want to talk about the playoffs, but I also want to talk about Jays reliever Anthony Bass put up a tweet today, and
what did he do? I keep seeing his name. It was trending on Twitter.
Yeah, he put up a tweet today. He's a reliever. He gets mop-up time in the seventh inning. He's actually pretty good. They got him from Miami last year. So he puts up this tweet. He's got his kids on a flight, obviously coming to Toronto, I guess. The flight attendant, United, he says, just made my 22-week pregnant wife traveling with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old get on her hands and knees and pick up popcorn mess by my youngest daughter. Are you fucking kidding me? He says. There's the mess.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Question, Douglas.
Why didn't you pick it up?
Well, we're getting there. That tweet not only went viral, he was put in a fucking body bag. Like a body bag. Like,
they went after him, eh?
The entitlement in that tweet, dude, awesome. Ben Ferguson says no. He was playing a professional baseball team while arguing with people in Toronto on Twitter. Corey says, I have 3 kids. I flew coach 12 hours, was able to clean up after them for every mess. It's called parenting. Do you expect park janitors to clean up after your pet? No, your child, your responsibility. The argument I'm making is about expectations and entitlements. Flight crews are not our slaves. Goes on where Anthony Bass is like, he expected the cleaning crew to clean it up. And then Galen's like, it's called being considerate. We all know planes don't go to get thoroughly cleaned during a day of flying. Genuinely curious, Tony says, as to why your wife didn't speak to customer service after, instead of posting a picture of the mess on social media and claiming someone forced her to go on her hands and knees and clean it or else. He was torched. The expectation, is my understanding, is that he was appalled that his kids made a mess and someone else wouldn't clean it up. Am I reading that correctly? Like, did he expect it? Is that the case? Have I been missing out on me cleaning up on planes for the past 30 years of my life? Like, should we be leaving that mess? Because I'm the guy that goes to the mall. Hang on. I'm the guy that goes to the mall, food court, kids, sit down, and I'll leave my tray because, as I say to my kids, no. We can't take someone else's job away from them. Someone gets paid to do that. However, I'm also of the opinion that if your kids make a mess, they should be able to clean it up. So what's what? Can you make a mess on a plane? Is it your responsibility to clean it up? Or should you be allowed to leave it? And is Anthony Bass being an entitled ass? Lachlan, you go first.
First off, I have a problem with anybody traveling with kids under the age of 10 that aren't drugged. So there's a big issue there. Like, actually 12.
Yeah.
You decided to ruin your life by having children. So you stay home, right? They stay home, right? Unless, of course, it's an emergency and you have to get them somewhere. And then you give them an entire box of Gravol. And then they sleep the whole way. Mm-hmm. So that kid shouldn't have been eating anyway. We'll start there.
So your opinion doesn't matter because you don't care. And you hated having kids. You like adult kids. I get it. Douglas?
Right. You should leave a place. It's okay to leave a place lived in or occupied, but not be a freaking slob.
Pick up. That's easy. That's an yeah.
Like, come on.
That's just being human.
But I'm still saying, here's the whole thing, right? They took the pictures. He's upset that she was 22 weeks pregnant.
Well, did she not clean up after her kids at home?
I just don't see why he did. Why didn't he just say, okay, sorry, it was a mess. He'd bend over. He'd pick it up.
I think there's
make a story of it.
Maybe there's a perception.
Did he watch his wife pick it up?
No.
Because he seems pretty indignant.
My understanding is that he's not on the flight. He's with the Blue Jays. His wife is on a flight with their 2 kids. Okay. She gets upset because the kid makes a mess. Gotcha. Flight attendant's like, you need to clean that up. And she's like pissed off. So she sends her, as this is always happens, right? Okay. This is one of those ones where the wife's like, I can't believe this happened to me. And he's like, yeah, I can't either. But probably deep down, Anthony Bass is like, whatever, just fucking pick up the popcorn. Like, and he's like, I'm going to show you my support so I can have sex when you get here. So he puts that out on Twitter and he's like, I can't believe this. And his wife's like, thanks a lot. And then he gets piled on by thousands of Torontonians and people with common sense. And now he's going, you know what? I should never do that. I should never support my wife publicly like that. When she sends me a tweet that says, I can't believe I'm being forced to do something normal. And she's
this
like,
is not a
Will Smith thing, yeah.
This is not an out.
You did to me? Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah.
I
love how we,
stupid.
I love how we have a term for it. It's a Will Smith thing now.
You got Will Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is not an out. This is not me siding with the Bassett, but I think there is. And it's not even a money thing. I think there are people out there that believe that, hey, listen, I just dropped a couple $100 to fly 2 hours.
Oh, yes.
Clean up after me. That might be where this is coming from, Dean. I don't even like. I know it's entitlement. I know that it's just popcorn. It seems to be a bigger story than it needs to be, in my opinion. But I think that's where this might be coming from.
All right.
It really is.
All right. I just wanted to put it out there.
I paid a couple grand to get my wife here to Toronto, and now you're telling me I got to pick up some popcorn? Come on. Yeah. That's where that might be coming from and where he felt justified.
Anthony Bass only makes $6.5 million a year, so he's probably real upset. Yeah.
But you also know that if he didn't say that like just when she comes back home, he's sleeping in the
Oh yeah,
bathtub nights.
totally. That's all that was. We've all
So
been there.
he's like, he's sitting there like this. Yeah, I'm getting put in a body bag, but this is probably way less worse than what would happen if I didn't.
We've
say
all
that
been
when
there.
she comes
When
home.
when our life partner has
I'm
said,
good.
"I want you to act on my behalf," and we're like, "Okay, I've got no information. Might as well." And your life partner is totally fucking wrong. Totally wrong. And you go out and you dummy somebody, or you make a decision to stand up for your life partner, but your life partner's put you in a terrible fucking spot, and then you end up looking like an asshole. That's again just another reason why I'm single. Not the only reason, just another reason where your partner's like, why aren't you as mad as me about this? And the other partner's like, because I don't have the balls to tell you you're being ridiculous. So I'll just go
back to drugging your kids, though. Grab-Al is safe. Okay. I spent pretty much most of my youth stoned on Grab-Al. Every time we traveled, I would just get a pack of Grab-Al would get thrown in the back. It's fine. I turned out okay. You can drug your kids. They sleep
Can we talk about that one?
They sleep like little princesses.
Yeah.
And then everybody on the plane would go, oh, look, they're so cute. They were so well behaved.
Yeah, that's right, because they're out of it.
They had about 6 Grab-Al in them. Never actually follow the instructions in the back of those packages.
Don't listen to a word this man is saying about
one is never enough.
Never listen to
one.
him. No.
6 is fine.
One's not enough. Last but not least, Oilers tonight. Playoffs start this evening.
Leafs tomorrow.
Oilers are the hottest team in the NHL going into the playoffs. I think they're plus 600 to win the Stanley Cup. Leafs are plus 800 to win the Stanley Cup. Oilers tonight. Kings.
Not everyone is saying that the Leafs are plus 800. It seems to be a very Toronto-centric stat.
That's just the number I saw today.
Just take a look at some of the reporting outside of your fine city.
I don't look at anything. I don't look at anything outside of the city of Toronto. Why bother?
Really? That's shocking.
I'm excited for the Oilers tonight. How is the city of Edmonton? Are you a little trepidatious? Big run last year. You got a couple question marks, but give me the vibe in Edmonton. You do morning radio there at the Locker Room, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. Obviously, it was a big topic of conversation today. How are the people of Edmonton feeling going into their Stanley Cup run, where they are projected to be a legitimate Stanley Cup favorite? How are things?
I saw quite a few brackets with Edmonton making a run. Like a lot of people are saying Boston is favored. I saw quite a few brackets with the Jets getting past the first couple of rounds too, getting past Vegas, which I thought was surprising. I think that I'm trying to base the level of excitement in Edmonton on a couple of things. One on you always see people running around in Oilers gear. It's like Toronto, it's like Calgary. It's like people are proud of their teams, right? And I kind of thought that there would be more of a, I don't know, more energy around it.
Right.
But I think people are a little bit excited but nervous because the Kings they're not a horrible team. And I think we're smart enough hockey fans now that people can look at a team and go, okay, here's our strengths, here's our weaknesses, this is what we're up against. And right now on paper, if you take a look at the Oilers and the Kings, the Oilers should be favored to beat that team. They have an unbelievable power play. They score a lot of goals. The defense has been shored up a bit. The Kings have a much better defense, probably have better goaltending. So there's these pros and cons. And then there's the Kings, man, they're well coached, and this is not going to be a walk in the park. I don't think anybody in Edmonton expects we're going to sweep the Kings and then we're going to get a break for the next team. I think they're expecting a very hard first round against Los Angeles. And I think honestly, it's probably very similar in Toronto. Toronto should be favored to beat Tampa Bay. But if I was a true blue Leafs fan, I'd be worried about going into this into this. And it's not just because I made that stupid bet. I would be legitimately concerned about going into this first round against Tampa Bay.
You know what? It's interesting because you touched on something about the vibe where you're like, of course, everybody's excited in the city, but it's not like years past. It's exactly the same in Toronto. Exactly the same. It's this muted hope, right? Where you're like, okay, usually years past, we couldn't believe we're in the playoffs, and that was just exciting, and everybody was like, we're gonna win it all just because we got.
That's where the Jets are. The Jets are like, can't fucking believe we made it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
The Jets might be hard to beat because of that,
right?
Because of that energy.
But they're excitable. They're excited. Yeah. We're not, and I'll tell you why. 5 first-round exits in Game 7. That's why. This is why. This little Wikipedia thing here.
It is
first round lighting 4-3, 4-3, 4-3, 4-3. It is hard to believe in this city that things have become this bad, things have become meme-like, right? And we have yapped as fans, and I've noticed this about Leaf fans, and I've also noticed it about Oilers fans. We've yapped like stupid dogs for the past 60 years. And over the past 5 years, each embarrassment, compounded by each embarrassment, it shut us up. It shut Leaf fans up. It muted all their expectations to the point where they're like, I am so tired of starting a series with a statement on Twitter and 7 days later having that statement mercilessly rammed down my throat as Loserville Leaf fan.
Yeah.
And the sad curse of the fucking first round Game 7 exit
which will make me $650, by the way.
And I hope that you share some of that. It is legitimately go time in the city. And for the first time in 100 years of this franchise, we have had enough humble pie. And I think it's probably the same with you. Enough humble pie where you're like, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to stunt. I'm not going to dance on graves. I'm not going to make any bold predictions. I'm going to sit here and have legitimately, and I wrote a post about this, 0 expectations. Not one, other than a snack schedule, and then I'm going to watch some really good playoff hockey and that the playoffs are here. If you're a fan of the Oilers, if you're a fan of the Leafs, you cannot do anything other than that. And if you do, you're setting yourself up for a myocardial infarction or some type of fucking stroke. So don't do it.
Honestly, that's well put, Dean. Well put. I think this year is going to be going to be very interesting from a couple of perspectives, because for the first time in a long time, we actually have a couple of Canadian teams that could make a run on both sides, the East and the West. And again,
you want to see a little AI slide of who they think will win the Stanley Cup?
No, don't do that.
It's an AI slide.
I have been avoiding brackets because I don't want to see how this is going to play out. I just want every game, one game at a time. One game at a time.
It doesn't mean it's real. It's just a digital slide. It doesn't mean it's going to be a sign of things to come. I'm just going to show you what one AI program.
You're going to jinx us all.
Just close your eyes.
I'm not.
Just close your eyes, Lachlan.
Apparently, it has the Toronto Maple Leafs beating the Colorado Avalanche in the Stanley Cup final for their first Stanley Cup in 1,000 years.
AI, my ass.
Dude, and Edmonton losing to Colorado in the semis. This is generous. I don't agree. Listen, I don't think the Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup this year. I don't. I think it's Boston's to lose. So, years past, I would say, no problem. Best team in the league. We're going to walk. It's going to be great. But I've matured over time as a fan. And now I'm like, I have no expectations. I don't care. I'm getting chips and dip tonight, and I'll watch a hockey game. That's it.
Chips and dip.
Right?
No.
Yeah.
Do you think the fact that Boston just broke the record is probably one of the reasons why things are so muted?
Yes.
People just assume it's in the bag?
Yeah. Also, Carolina had a hell of a season. They loaded up. Boston loaded up. Every team in the East loaded up. So it's like everybody's just as good as the other guy. There is no cakewalk. I did read this morning that Patrice Bergeron, Jimmy Swayman, and Linus Ullmark are very, very sick, and they might not play the first couple games of the series against Panthers.
COVID.
But do they have COVID? They got the illness?
That's what somebody said.
I didn't.
Somebody said. I don't know if it's true, but I saw it on Twitter.
COVID's back for the playoffs. That's exciting.
You know what? COVID hasn't gone anywhere. Just sort of sitting there waiting to
I know.
strike.
I'm tired of talking about it. But imagine that. Imagine if the only thing that beats Boston this year is COVID. Ah.
Yeah. Well, again, I think we should all be excited that we've got a team to cheer. If you're a Leafs fan and if you're an Oilers fan, I think we should be excited that we got a team to cheer for in the playoffs, a legit team. I think also part of the issue is the fact in Edmonton anyway, if I can sort of expand on what I said about that excitement, but also nervous energy that everybody has that is kind of resonant in Toronto as well. I think the bigger issue we have in Edmonton is that we have two generational players that have been pissing away their opportunities in the NHL here in Edmonton, and everybody
we have a couple of those too.
Yes, you guys do too. We have two players that are the best, considered the best players, not just on their teams, but in the league and of their generation. And they can't seem to get anything, right? Like they can't seem to make it pop here. And everyone is just like, come on.
Well, that's the added pressure, right?
Connor a cup.
That's the pressure here too. The pressure here too is like
Matthews
okay,
and Marner. I mean,
Matthews has got 1 year left on his deal at 11 or 12 and a half or whatever. Douglas has to go. Douglas, love you. True North Eager Beaver podcast. We'll talk to you soon. At True Eager. Follow, subscribe, follow him on Twitter. True North Eager Beaver. Hit it and podcast. Subscribe everywhere you get your fine podcast. Love you, baby. Great.
I got one thing for you, Dean. Though. Yeah. You know, I'm hardwired for optimism, right? You've been good. You've been really going out on a limb that they're going to tank. I bet you they win in 6 just to spite you.
Don't say that. Haven't we just talked about not making predictions?
No, I need them to lose in 7, Douglas. Throw that energy out there because I got $100 on it.
I've got nothing to lose. I just bring the happiness. I want to make you happy.
Thanks,
I'm predicting 6 just to spite you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Just so that they could shove it down your throat. The fact that you said it wasn't going to happen.
I wouldn't mind having it shoved down my throat. I'm okay with that as opposed to what's happened over the past 20 years. Great to see you, Douglas. Thanks so much for joining us today.
See you, Douglas.
Bye, guys. Bye, kids and cubs.
See you, buddy. Douglas Connors, True North Eager Beaver, the podcast.
I enjoy him. He's funny.
He's awesome. You a little nervous tonight? A little nervy? Nervous for the series? Yeah.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So
I've been doing a lot of beaking.
I know you have.
Yeah.
Are you going to beak on Twitter during the games? Or are you going to shut up and kind of play your... You should. You should just
we had this conversation today about
shutting up during the playoffs? Digitally shutting up? Watching the games?
No, I probably won't.
Trolling?
I here's the thing. They like everyone does all these like in radio, there's always a stunt. Do you want to stunt? You want to do something like get behind the team and I don't know, like let's smash a car. And I'm like, I don't know. First, that's not our show, but I just don't know if that's something I want to do this year. I want to hope for the best, watch some hockey. If they lose in game 1, so be it. If they win, great. They might lose game 2. You know what I mean? I want to see some good hockey, and I'm looking forward to a run from this team.
Those are your expectations?
And I'm going to enjoy watching that Tampa Bay Leafs series from a hockey fan perspective. Yeah. Right. As much as I enjoy trolling the Leaf fans.
It's one of those, it could be.
That could be a good series, man.
Do you remember back in 1980, 1981, 1982, 1983? Do you remember those years? 82, 81, 82, 83. Oilers are knocking on the door. 81, they have their coming out party. 82, it's like, fuck, this is a really good team. Losing the playoffs. 83, oh, fuck, so good. They get to the semis, lose. 84 comes around. That was the birth of, like, the world's first super team, right, in hockey. Even though the Islanders won 4 in a row. This little team out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, with the best hockey player in the world and a bunch of guys from the area. Some dude named Jaroslav Pozar and Jari Kurri out of Finland ran the table. Ran the table for 3 years. They were the unbeaten. There was like a dynasty. It was like, and if you were from that age, you were like, oh my God, this is incredible. It's Edmonton against the world. They were winners. City champions.
What we keep forgetting though is, and this is a different sport in that you can have the best players in the world.
Right.
Until you put a supporting cast around them. And that's been the difficult part hockey and the salary cap, right? Because everyone still goes after that big player, that marquee player. They want to secure Matthews for 10 years. They want to pay him as much as he's worth. But the thing that everybody forgets about is that if Crosby, if Lemieux, if Gretzky, if Mess, if they don't have that supporting cast, they're not going to make
And this
a run.
is my entire point. Is 84 Leafs win a cup, they go on a run. It feels like 84 in Toronto. Not that they're going to win the cup. No predictions, no expectations.
Yeah.
But Tampa won a couple of cups, got to a final last year, on the decline statistically. They've still got great goaltending, better than Toronto's. They've still got some of the best players in the world.
That's
but
an
tired.
issue for Toronto.
You know, they've been through the cycle. Their window's starting to close. It feels like that here. Like just get past the first round. Just get past your nemesis. Just get out of the first round against the perennial favorite and multiple Stanley Cup winner that has dominated your division and your conference for the better part of half a decade. Just do that.
Yeah.
That is it. That is legitimately the only thing anybody cares about. Nobody's talking about Boston. Nobody's talking about Carolina. Nobody's talking about Colorado.
No, everyone outside of Toronto is talking about Boston.
Yeah, but we're not. Because it's like a lot of bad memories, bad juju there.
Well, I think the reason why Toronto can't talk about Boston right now is because they can't get past what you're saying, the Tampa Bay thing, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. But I mean, look at any one of those teams that has a certain amount of success. They reach the pinnacle, and then all the players start making too much money, and then they don't have money for that supporting cast, and then you watch them decline. We've seen it in the cap era with Chicago. Tampa Bay's on the but you can't take away the fact that these teams remember how to win, right? They know how to win. They know what it takes. And I think that was what you were getting at when you were talking about that 84 team from the Oilers, or 83 team, when they walked past the dressing room and saw the Islanders and looked over and saw everyone
after they won, not partying, just gassed.
Just gassed, beat to shit. And they were like, oh, and every one of those 80s Oilers team members says the same thing. The best lesson we learned was what the Islanders were going through.
Give it all.
And they gave it all. And they were like, oh, okay. And I think you got an element of that in Toronto. You also have an element of that in Edmonton. Last year, you know what I mean? They haven't been able to make it. They've got a sniff of it.
Emptied the clip at the deadline this year. Yeah. You were able to keep Evander Kane. Like I'm excited, dude. I know we talk a lot of shit. I really am excited for an Oiler playoff run, and I'm really excited for a Leaf playoff run. I really am.
You know what? It's going to be fun hockey. You're going to have Oilers, and they're going to put Oilers and Leafs on opposing nights.
Yeah.
We're going to have
great
always
hockey. The bummer in the middle of the playoffs, right? When one of those teams lose, and specifically over the last few years, you get 2 or 3 teams from Canada in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then one team gets pumped in the first round, 2 teams get pumped in the second round. It's over. It's over. You're like, fuck, what am I going to watch? An American team in the Stanley Cup? I don't like hockey that much.
Well, I do. I'll watch it right till the end. And then you get the Jays. The Jays are on a run, right? They're fun to watch right now.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get through The Mandalorian.
It's great. By the way, are you watching Yellow Jackets?
No, that's on Apple, right?
No, dude. It's on HBO. Crave. You got Crave?
Is it Yellow
Yeah.
Jackets?
Yellow Jackets.
Is that the one where the volleyball team goes into the
soccer team, crashes?
Soccer team.
Yeah.
And then they eat each other
for a year, and there's some light cannibalism. Yeah, Juliette Lewis is in it. Christina Ricci's in it. Fucking.
Is that good?
Oh, dude, unbelievable.
Okay, I'm in.
Unbelievable. Okay. And it's dark and it's fucking gross. Gross.
I thought it was on Apple.
No,
because I don't have Apple, so I miss a lot of these really cool Apple shows.
Oh yeah, you got to watch Yellow Jackets. It's phenomenal. Okay. There's cult shit in it. There's people eating each other, and it's all girls, and they're fucking badass. And Juliette Lewis is great in it. Like
she's
really, really
nuts.
Good. She is. She's crazy in this too. Yeah.
Yeah.
She plays like exactly the person you'd think she'd play in a series.
Yeah,
exactly. Thanks a lot. Great to see you. Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. At Lachlan Cross on Twitter. Yeah, it was great. Great show. It's where you can find him every single weekday morning. Listen online, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. He's the host.
Can I plug the t-shirts?
Yeah, quickly? For sure. Yep.
We lost a Edmonton landmark on Friday, the first stop of the Edmonton Glory Hole tours burnt down.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to raise money to rebuild. And with your help, we'll be able to get there. Okay. So if you go to my Twitter profile and you go to the TLR merch page, you can actually go to the support local section and buy a support local peep shows, support local glory holes, or support local Robin Tugs. The money raised will go to rebuilding the first stop of the Edmonton Glory Hole tours.
What stop burned down?
It's the XXX Adult DVD Liquidators store.
On White Mud?
No, on Stony Plain Road.
Oh.
Went up in flames. So it's a place very near and dear to our hearts. And as a show, we're trying to raise money.
To build up again? You want to rebuild?
To get it back.
Build back better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Go
to the
local Glory Hole.
Lachlan Cross's Twitter bio, TLR merch page, the locker room merch page, support local.
I promise all the money raised will go directly
to you,
to putting back up an Edmonton landmark, and not my beer fund.
That's a lie. Now you've become a politician right here on the program. You got a scooter. You've become woke. You just lied about money. Politician. Congratulations.
It's never going to end.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, buddy. Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. That's it for us. Thanks. Rate, subscribe, review if you can. YouTube, Dean Blundell Show on YouTube, Dean Blundell TV on Twitch. Really appreciate you doing that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Very healthy audience. Really appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you for all the lovely comments. Don't forget, you can find us everywhere, crier.co. Again, that is our partner. That is who we work for and with. Crier Media, crier.co. Check out one of 90 podcasts and a complete offering of information, everything from how I have no confidence into the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs, but I'm still going to watch and hope for the best, to Pierre Poilievres gloating that he told everybody something we all knew anyway. Anyway, go to crier.co. That's where you can find everything that we do. If you're thinking of joining a network, we're always open for business. Don't forget, you can find everything that we are. Ask us any questions, info@crier.co. Thanks to our partners and friends at Easy Auto Financial for making this possible. If you're looking for a vehicle, easyautofinancial.ca. They are going to get you one. And if you're looking for a torque wrench, our other sponsors have that too. CanTorque, Canada's assembly tool experts. CanTorque makes rugged, hardworking, beautiful torque wrenches. Canada's leading industrial tool experts. Heavy machinery, the oil field, nuclear, railroad. It does forestry, big in forestry. If you're looking for a torque fastener, bolting, loosening solution, they have it. Very best in sales, service, rentals, calibration, maintenance, and custom fabrication of industrial torque tools, no matter the scale of your bolting project. Colin Livingston, my very good friend, has your solution. Go to cantorque.com today for more information. Kivlaw.ca, defense lawyers in Southern Ontario that get you out of trouble if you want to get your life back. You need a great criminal defense attorney, and Rob knows clients need honest answers about their situation from an experienced defense lawyer that knows what they are doing and understands how to fight for you. You want a trial lawyer who cares for you and is very responsive to the needs that you have. It doesn't matter what you've done. You need to speak to a lawyer now. If you're in Southern Ontario, go to kivlaw.ca. Again, kivlaw.ca, or email Robert today. Robert@kivlaw.ca. And, of course, Gitch. The Dean Blundell Show is brought to you by Gitch. Engineered for any level of performance as well as everyday life. If you want a free pair, go to edsfineimports.com. Buy 3, get 1 free. Use code GITCH3 at checkout. These things are beautiful, made for all levels of performance. You can walk, run, or sprint through your day. It's the only underwear I wear. Barely there comfort, keeping you cool with moisture-whipping fabric. You won't ever want to take these off. And I'm serious. You know, when you go through your underwear collection, you're like, oh, where's that underwear? That's what I do with these all the time, because I've got a bunch of underwear, mostly Gitch. Sometimes some baddies will make their way into the rotation. Got to stay away from the baddies. These are the only underwear I wear. I want you to wear them too. Ladies and gentlemen, edsfineimports.com. Gitch3 is your promo code. Buy 3, get 1 free. Go there today and order online. Clothing for men and boys. That's it for us. Have a great day. Go Oilers. Okay? We can get behind Canadian teams. If you're a Leaf fan or you're a Flames fan or you're a Sens fan, we got a Canadian team in action tonight. Just relax. You get Leafs Jets tomorrow night. It all starts tonight. 0 expectations, and you will meet yours. Super simple how it works. And then Leafs tomorrow night. We'll be back on Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow. Bye.